For eons, the human story was whispered only to the wind, a vast, faceless tapestry woven by ghosts whose names have long dissolved into the dust. We knew their hands by the stones they carved, their fears by the fires they left behind. But their voices, their individual minds, remained locked in an eternal, silent dark. Look closely through the shifting amber haze of the Mesopotamian sands, where the ruins of ancient Ur lie buried beneath 5,000 years of silence. We step out of the dry, baking heat of the desert sun and descend into the cool, suffocating shadows of a sacred temple chamber. Here, the air hangs heavy with the earthy scent of damp river clay and the sweet, metallic tang of burning incense. In this quiet sanctuary, a single hand holds a tapered reed stylus poised over a tablet of wet, glistening earth. You can hear the soft, deliberate scrape of the reed biting into the mud, a tiny, fragile sound that will echo across the millennia. For centuries before this moment, and for centuries after, the great epics of humanity, from the oldest myths to the Hebrew scriptures and the grand hymns of Greece, would be born of nameless voices. But here, in the heart of Sumer, a high priestess did something revolutionary. She did not merely record the sacred, she claimed her own creation. Pressing her stylus into the clay, she signed her name to her hymns, Enheduanna. And with those few deliberate strokes, the vast silence of prehistory was shattered forever. The anonymous world died, and the voice of the individual was born. But that newly born voice did not rise in a vacuum of peace. It was forged in the blinding heat of a crucible, in the dust, the blood, and the relentless ambition of one man. As the map of Mesopotamia shifts before us, the vibrant, ancient colors of independent Sumerian city-states are slowly, inexorably swallowed by the dark, encroaching tide of Akkad. Sargon the Great has marched. The dry desert air hangs thick with the acrid smell of burning barley, the choking dust of marching armies, and the sharp, metallic tang of bronze. Yet Sargon, brilliant and calculating, knows that while a city can be conquered by the spear, an empire cannot be held by terror alone. His newly forged territory is a volatile powder keg, vibrating with the silent fury of the vanquished Sumerians. To bind these two warring worlds together, the conqueror conceives a masterstroke of political and spiritual genius. In the flickering amber shadow of his war tent, Sargon's massive silhouette towers. He turns to his daughter, Enheduanna. We see him press into her hand a heavy, cold calcite cylinder seal, the physical manifestation of ultimate spiritual authority. Her task is monumental. She must journey to Ur, the very heartland of Sumerian culture. There, as High Priestess, she will not merely serve the gods, she will rewrite them. Armed only with her stylus and her devotion, she is charged with fusing the fiercely distinct deities of both empires into a single, unified tapestry of faith, conquering the minds of the people where her father's armies could only conquer their land. And so, she does not conquer with the sword, but with
Her battlefield is the quiet, sun-drenched sanctuary of the Palace of the Moon, in the very heart of Ur. Here, the dry, heavy heat of the Mesopotamian desert gives way to the cool, high-columned halls of the sacred precinct, where shafts of thick, golden light cut through the rising incense of sweet cedar wood. In this space, we witness the quiet machinery of divine authority. Observe her, the Priestess, poised between the mortal and the divine. As her hairdresser, Ilum Palilis, meticulously styles her dark hair, weaving it into the intricate, crown-like coiffure of her station, Enheduanna's mind is far away, wandering the heavens. She speaks, her voice a low, melodic murmur of sacred Sumerian. Beside her sits Sagadu, her scribe, his fingers dusty with the earth. In the quiet of the chamber, only two sounds remain: the gentle rise and fall of her voice, and the rhythmic, soft scraping of Sagadu's reed stylus carving her immortal thoughts into wet river clay. Each stroke is a monument. Here, in the daily ritual of beauty and bureaucracy, she is not merely writing prayers. She is shaping the soul of an empire.
But empires, like wet clay, are fragile things, easily shattered by the violent ambitions of men. In an instant, the sanctuary of sacred silence is torn apart. The quiet, rhythmic scraping of the stylus is replaced by a jarring, frenzied chaos. The camera shakes as if the very foundations of Ur are coming undone. The air grows thick with the choking stench of burning pitch and sweat. Through the dark corridors of the temple, a terrifying crescendo erupts. Flaming torches cast erratic, dancing shadows against the ancient brickwork, accompanied by the brutal, metallic clash of bronze on bronze and the guttural shouts of rebellion. The Sumerian rebel, Lugal-Ane, has struck. With savage fury, the loyalists of Akkad are cut down, and Enheduanna is seized. There is no reverence here. The sacred vestments of the High Priestess, the golden ornaments of heaven, the deep lapis lazuli of her office are violently stripped from her body. Her meticulously coiffed hair dragged through the dirt. Cast out, thrown like refuse past the towering, indifferent bronze gates of the city she spent a lifetime elevating. As the heavy gates slam shut, the frantic noise of the coup fades into a terrifying, suffocating silence. The audio shifts, leaving only the low, mournful howl of the desert wind sweeping across the barren dunes. Left with nothing but the cold, bitter dust and the vast, uncaring sky, she is utterly alone. It is in these silent, desolate spaces of the human experience that the truest voices are often forged. If these echoes of the past resonate with you, consider subscribing to join our journey as we trace the fragile threads of those who dare to write their names into eternity. Here, in the freezing dark of the wilderness, the poet is reduced to her barest survival. And yet, it is here that her greatest song is about to begin.
Under this vast, uncaring sky, the biting desert wind carries the bitter scent of frozen sand and parched earth. A cruel departure from the sweet, warm frankincense of her lost temple in Ur. We see her now, huddled low against the earth, shivering violently beside a dying fire that struggles against the vast, encroaching blackness. The flickering amber light plays across her tear-streaked, soot-covered face, casting deep shadows that mirror her psychological descent into the absolute abyss of exile. Once the most powerful woman in the cradle of civilization, she is now a fugitive in the dust. Yet beneath the ash and the terror, a fierce, unbreakable spiritual resilience begins to stir. Clutching her reed stylus with trembling, frost-bitten fingers, she begins to carve her agony into the clay. Through the crackle of the embers, her voice emerges, deep and trembling, with a reverberant power. Funeral offerings were brought, as if I had never lived there. I approached the light, but the light scorched me. I approached the shade, but I was covered with a storm. In this desperate crucible of humiliation and grief, she does not merely weep. She writes. She pours her soul into the exaltation of Inanna, transforming her private torment into an immortal scream that will echo through the cathedrals, temples, and hearts of humanity for thousands of years to come.
And it is from that internal sanctuary, that unbreakable temple of the mind, that her voice rises to shatter the silence of exile. The gods, it seems, have been listening. As she journeys back to Ur, the heavy, oppressive storm clouds that once choked the horizon begin to part. A sharp, crisp scent of wet clay and ozone hangs in the air, slowly giving way to the sweet, rich fragrance of burning cedar wood. Above the towering ziggurat, a blinding shaft of warm, golden sunlight pierces the gloom, painting the sacred steps in liquid fire. Enheduanna ascends once more, her posture unyielding, her authority not merely restored, but forged anew in the fires of betrayal. She is no longer just a daughter of Sargon. She is the absolute voice of the divine. With her return comes a revolution of spirit. In the quiet chambers of her sanctuary, amidst the soft scratching of reeds on clay, she executes her masterwork. She does not merely rule, she heals a fractured realm. With unparalleled theological genius, she weaves together the fierce Akkadian gods of her father with the ancient, deep-rooted deities of Sumer. Under her hand, the terrifying, distant forces of nature become intimate, compassionate guardians of humanity. She elevates Inanna to the Queen of Heaven, transforming a local goddess into an all-powerful yet deeply personal refuge for every mortal soul. This profound, unified pantheon binds the hearts of the Empire's people, establishing a deep spiritual peace that will stabilize Sargon's borders for decades to come. Out of the darkness of her exile, she has brought forth a light that will echo through the centuries.
And yet, the true crucible of this enduring light is not found on the blood-soaked battlefields or in the crowded palaces of Akkad, but here, within a quiet, sunlit temple chamber in Ur. Inside this sacred scriptorium, the air is thick with the scent of river mud, drying reeds, and the sweet, resinous warmth of burning myrrh. A shaft of golden afternoon sun cuts through the high stone window, illuminating the gentle, deliberate rhythm of a daily ritual. Her hairdresser, Illum Palilis, stands behind her, carefully, almost reverently, coiffing her hair into the elaborate crown of a high priestess. Beside them, the scribe Sagadu kneels, his fingers slick as he kneads the cool, wet clay, smoothing its surface to receive her voice. And then the sound begins. A sharp, rhythmic scraping, the bite of the reed stylus pressing into the yielding earth. In this serene space, Enheduanna is not merely a princess or a priestess. She is a poet wrestling with the cosmos. Here she composes 42 deeply personal prayers, verses that strip away the cold distance of the gods to reveal the raw, beating heart of humanity. She writes not of distant cosmic battles, but of the heavy, intimate truths of the human condition, the crippling terror of war, the quiet ache of loneliness, and the fragile, desperate hopes of everyday mortal life. Through her voice, the divine is no longer an untouchable storm. It is a mirror, reflecting our deepest fears and our endless capacity to survive.
And from these depths of survival, our capacity to endure transforms into something far more radiant, a burning, breathless ecstasy. Step through the heavy cedar doors of Inanna's temple, where the warm air is thick with the sweet, intoxicating scent of frankincense and crushed jasmine. Here, in the flickering gold of 1,000 oil lamps, the dark is banished by dynamic, vibrant colors, shimmering crimson silks, deep indigo dyes, and the glittering dust of lapis lazuli. The rhythmic, hypnotic thrum of the bronze drums begins to rise, and with it the ecstatic rituals of the goddess's devotees. In the heat of this sacred dance, the rigid boundaries of mortal identity simply melt away. Men drape themselves in flowing feminine robes, while women embrace the strength of the masculine, a deliberate, gender-fluid blending of souls seeking ultimate transcendence. Through Enheduanna's voice, this divine chaos becomes poetry. Her recitation of the great-hearted mistress rises like a warm, sensual prayer. My lady, I am yours. This will always be so. Your divinity is resplendent in the land. In her ardent, deeply passionate devotion, she does not merely honor Inanna, she elevates her, transforming a local deity into the all-powerful, supreme queen of heaven. If these ancient echoes of passion and transcendence resonate with you, if you feel the pull of these long-forgotten rituals, consider subscribing to join our journey through the deepest corridors of human history, where we uncover the timeless fires that still warm the human spirit.
Yet those timeless fires do not always burn without challenge. Step out of the flickering warmth of the ancient temple and into the sterile, hushed air of a modern library. Here, the scent of damp clay and burning cedar is replaced by the cool, metallic hum of digital archives and the dry, sweet scent of decaying paper. In these quiet corridors, modern scholars peer through microscopes, questioning the very breadth of her creation. Voices of skepticism, like scholar Jeremy Black, echo across the millennia, suggesting that perhaps she, the High Priestess, was merely a silent patron. They argue that these poems, these raw, bleeding confessions, were the work of faceless, dutiful male scribes, or perhaps myths invented centuries after her bones turned to dust. But they forget the power of a woman who knew the weight of her own voice. Enheduanna did not leave her legacy to the whim of history or the mercy of anonymous pens. Deep within the ancient clay, she did something revolutionary for her time. She claimed her words. She carved her own name, Enheduanna, directly into the masterpieces, sewing her identity into the very fabric of the divine. "I am Enheduanna," she declares, a defiant whisper cutting through 4,000 years of silence. While the skeptics analyze, her inkless stylus still strikes the clay, demanding to be remembered, not as a shadow, but as the world's first true author.
And that demand, buried beneath 4,000 years of shifting Mesopotamian sands, would finally find its answer in the bitter, dust-choked winter of 1927. As the grainy, silent sepia of historical memory fades into the harsh, blinding sunlight of a stylized reconstruction of Ur, we stand beside Sir Leonard Woolley. Listen closely, and you can hear the rhythmic, scraping sigh of dry boar-bristle brushes against baked earth. The air is thick, smelling of parched clay, ancient decay, and undisturbed heat. Gently, ever so gently, a layer of fine silt is swept away, and from the darkness of the tomb emerges a circular disk of pale, translucent calcite. There, carved in low relief, stands Enheduanna herself, dominating the stone, holding her place of ultimate power. Yet the true miracle of this calcite legacy is not that her stone image survived the collapse of empires, but that her voice did. Long after her temple fell to ruin, the architecture of her mind endured. The deep, passionate echoes of her devotion would drift across the vast deserts, quietly shaping the cadence of the Hebrew Psalms, inspiring the booming romanticism of the Song of Psalms, and flowing into the soaring Homeric hymns of ancient Greece. Even today, whenever a modern poet sits in the quiet of the night, reaching for the sublime, they are tracing the path she first cleared through the dark. Her inkless stylus never truly stopped writing, and her song has never ended.